The chandeliers in the Rockefeller Estate dining hall blaze so bright that the gold leaf on the ceiling almost hurts the eyes, but all Isabella Rockefeller can see is the trembling pen in her great-granddaughter's hand. Lily stands at the end of the long table, a thin girl in a simple black dress that looks too plain for a 100th birthday banquet, clutching a fountain pen over a thick document spread open on the polished mahogany. Her fingers shake so much that the nib scratches the paper instead of signing her name. "Read it out loud again." Isabella's voice is dry but sharp as glass. Her spine is curved with age, but when she speaks, the room still falls quiet. The rest of the Rockefeller clan sits along both sides of the table like a jury, faces highlighted and hollowed by the harsh chandelier light. Waiters freeze along the walls, holding trays of champagne that no one remembers to drink. At the head of the table, Isabella wears a silver gown that the stylist promised would make her look regal instead of fragile. Her hair is thin and white, swept perfectly back, her pearls gleaming against the parchment of her skin. There are 100 candles on the towering cake by the window, flickering as if unsure whether to celebrate or mourn. Lily swallows. She. Her voice cracks. Emma White, Lily's stepmother, steps neatly into the silence. "I will help her, Mother Isabella." Emma's smile is gentle, her blonde hair twisted into an immaculate chignon, diamond earrings catching the light. She is just nervous. Emma takes the document from Lily's frozen hands, the paper rustling loudly in the stillness. Lily Rockefeller hereby voluntarily relinquishes and transfers all inheritance rights, current and future, to the Rockefeller Family Trust, reserving only a basic living allowance. Emma reads in a soft, pleasant tone, as if she is reciting a prayer, and not a legal execution. Lily jerks her head up. That is not true. Her eyes are red, but her voice suddenly grows louder. "I never said I would give up everything. I never agreed to this." Jason Rockefeller, Emma's son and Lily's older cousin, lounges in his chair with his tie loosened and a glass of champagne in hand. He huffs a laugh that drips contempt. "Please, you should be thankful Emma even lets you stay here." He tilts his head toward the lawyers seated near the middle of the table. "They witnessed it. You signed the draft yesterday. No one forced you, Lily." "I did not sign." Lily's shoulders are shaking now, her fingers curl into fists at her sides. "You slipped papers into the college withdrawal forms, you lied, you." "Enough." Isabella's cane taps once on the marble floor. Her old heart is hammering so hard she can hear it in her ears, but she keeps her gaze locked on Emma. "I told you there will be no transfer of Lily's shares while I still breathe." Emma's expression does not change, but the smile in her eyes turns thin. "Mother Isabella, this is really for the family's good." She lays the document back on the table, and gently nudges it closer to Lily. Lily cannot even keep up with her classes, and she is refusing to marry the investor I introduced. The board is worried. "You are worried." Isabella cuts in. "Do not twist your greed into duty." The murmur around the table grows louder. Several distant cousins exchange looks, some shifting uneasily, others watching with open anticipation. A public fight at the 100th birthday of the matriarch will be remembered for decades. Emma folds her hands over her chest in a pose of wounded patience. "Mother Isabella, you are tired, and you are letting your affection cloud your judgment." She glances delicately around the table. Lily was supposed to meet with Mr. Beckham, a very serious investor, and she refused. She jeopardized a partnership worth hundreds of millions. The board has a right to be upset. Lily steps forward, tears spilling over. "I am 17. He is older than you. He kept touching my wrist in the restaurant, and you told me to smile." Her voice breaks as she looks around the table, desperate for a single ally. "I am not a bargaining chip." Several faces flicker with discomfort, but no one speaks. Jason tips his chair back on two legs, smirking. "No one said you were a bargaining chip, cousin. Think of it as a contribution. At least then you would finally be useful." "Jason." Isabella's voice drops to a warning growl. She raises a shaking hand and points the tip of her cane at him. "You will not talk to her like that under my roof." Jason shrugs, but there is a flash of nervousness behind his eyes. Emma quickly steps in again, voice sweet, words poisonous. "Mother Isabella, Lily has always been sensitive. We all know she has trouble adjusting since her parents passed. She keeps running away from her responsibilities." She turns to Lily with a sigh that looks like pity. "If you do not sign tonight, the board will remove you anyway, and you will be left with nothing. This way at least you keep your allowance, and we can continue to provide for your education. You already pulled me out of school." Lily chokes. "You told the dean I was withdrawing due to mental health issues. You took back my scholarship letters from the mail, you locked my laptop. Her words tumble out too fast, jagged with panic. Isabella grips the edge of the table so hard her knuckles turn white. Her heart pounds against her ribs like a fist slamming a door. She can taste the bitterness of the pills she swallowed just an hour ago, between bites of birthday cake. She can taste her own helpless fury. I gave you my son's trust, she whispers, eyes never leaving Emma's face. I let you into this house after he died. I believed you when you wept at his coffin, and this is how you repay me. You are nothing but a snake. Emma's lashes flutter as if she is about to cry. Mother Isabella, you are misunderstanding me. You are almost 100, your health is fragile. If Lily continues to be so disobedient, the board will turn on her and on you. I am trying to protect our family from chaos. By selling my great-granddaughter to the highest bidder? Isabella snaps. Her chest tightens as if someone has wrapped wire around her ribs and is twisting it slowly. By forging her signature and stealing her future? One day, Lily will understand that we did this for her own good. Emma answers softly. She places a hand over her heart. And for the good of the Rockefellers. Lily. Jason leans forward, his tone suddenly soft and coaxing, like a wolf lowering itself before a frightened lamb. Sign it. No one will believe you anyway if you scream. You are just the orphan girl we took in out of pity. You would be nothing without us. Lily turns to Isabella, tears streaking down her pale cheeks. Great-grandma, please tell them to stop. Isabella looks at her, really looks. The girl's shoulders are so narrow that the black dress hangs on her, her eyes too big in her small face. She wears the same desperate expression Isabella once saw in the mirror, when she was 19 and her father tried to marry her off to a man 3 times her age. Back then, she clawed her way out and built an empire. Back then, she promised herself that no one in her bloodline would ever be sold again. Her heart squeezes. Rage burns so hot it feels like acid in her veins. She lifts her cane and slams it against the marble floor. The crack echoes up to the ceiling. Hear me clearly. Isabella's voice booms across the table. As long as I am alive, Lily keeps every share her parents left her. As long as I breathe, this snake and her useless son will not touch a single brick of this house without my consent. Emma's smile finally cracks. A flash of cold hatred flickers behind her eyes. Mother Isabella, please calm down. She lowers her voice, then raises it again so everyone can hear. You are letting a child's tantrum cloud a century of wisdom. You are risking our legacy over a girl who refuses to behave. If Lily will not marry, if she will not sign, then she ruins everything. Is that what you want the board to hear? The board. The word digs under Isabella's ribs like a hook. She hears the faint rustle of expensive suits as several uncles and cousins shift, their loyalties already calculating new paths. Her vision blurs for a moment. The room tilts. Mother Isabella, your blood pressure. The family doctor whispers from his place at the side of the room. Perhaps we should. Emma steps closer to the head of the table, ignoring him. She leans in, voice soft but carrying. Look at her, everyone. Lily refuses to cooperate. She refuses to study the way we arranged. She refuses the marriage that could save our falling stock price. Do you really want a foolish girl like that holding voting power over the family's future? Lily flinches as dozens of eyes turn toward her. Her lips tremble. I never asked for your money. She whispers hoarsely. I just wanted to finish school. Emma tilts her head. So ungrateful. She turns back to Isabella and delivers the final twist of the knife. If you truly loved the Rockefellers, you would sign these papers yourself and spare us the embarrassment. Isabella's heart lurches. Her vision narrows until she can only see the gleam of Emma's teeth. You dare lecture me about loving this family? She rasps. I built it. Before you knew how to spell Rockefeller, I was in boardrooms with men who thought a woman's only value was her womb. I fought for every share that you now parade around in. Her chest feels as if someone shoved a boulder onto it. Her fingers clutch at the silk over her heart. I am still the head of this family. I am still. The rest of the sentence never makes it out. Pain explodes across her chest, slamming through her like a lightning strike. The room spins wildly. Voices distort. She hears Lily scream her name, hears glasses shatter, hears the doctor shouting orders. Her cane slips from her hand and clatters to the floor. The last thing she sees is Emma's face, tilted just slightly, eyes cold and triumphant behind a mask of horror. Then everything goes dark. A shrill, persistent beeping drags Isabella back from the void. Her lungs burn, each breath scraping against her ribs as if they are lined with sand. She smells antiseptic and metal, and the faint sweetness of cheap flowers. She forces her eyes open. The ceiling is not gilded. It is white, glaring, dotted with square panels and fluorescent lights. There is no crystal chandelier, no 100 candles. Just a single monitoring machine blinking monotonously at her bedside. For a second, she thinks she woke in the hospital after her collapse. Then she sees her own hands. They are not thin and wrinkled. They are smooth. The veins are not raised, the skin not spotted. Her fingers look slim and firm, like they did in the black and white photos that sit locked in her bottom drawer. Isabella jerks upright. Her body actually obeys. There is no stabbing pain in her spine, no dizzy rush to her head. Her heart pounds, but not in the fragile, irregular stutter of old age. It is strong, insistent. She looks down. She is wearing a worn cotton hospital gown, the fabric soft and cheap, and beneath it her body feels lean, young, unfamiliar, and intimately known at the same time. Her hair falls into her face. It is not white. A curtain of dark brown slides over her cheek, thick and heavy. Her breath catches. She swings her legs off the bed and stumbles to the small bathroom attached to the hospital room, tugging the rolling four-pole behind her. The mirror above the sink is streaked with water. She wipes it with the back of her hand. A stranger's face stares back at her. An 18-year-old girl with dark brown hair, and sharp cheekbones and stormy gray eyes. She knows this face. She wore it when she stormed into the first boardroom of her life, and refused to leave until they signed the contract. She wore it when she told her father she would never marry the man he chose and walked out into the city alone. She has not seen it outside of old photographs for 80 years. Isabella grips the sides of the sink. Her reflection does the same, fingers digging into cheap plastic. Her heart is thundering now, racing so fast she feels lightheaded again, but it is not weakness this time. It is adrenaline. Mother Isabella? A trembling voice sounds from behind her. She spins around. Standing in the doorway is a man in his 60s, his hair silver, his posture straight despite the weight of years on his shoulders. He is wearing a simple dark suit, but she would recognize him in any clothes, in any lifetime. Thomas. Her voice comes out hoarse. The old butler's throat works. Tears fill his eyes. Thank God. He steps fully into the room, shutting the door behind him. Old girl, you scared the life out of me. She blinks. Old girl. He laughs wetly. You can scold me later for being disrespectful. Right now I have to make sure I am not in some fever dream. He looks her up and down, eyes full of awe and shock and a strange joy. You died at the banquet, Mother Isabella. Heart attack, they said. You stopped breathing in front of us all, and then I. He gestures helplessly at her. You woke up like this. Isabella leans back against the sink, her legs suddenly weak. So I am not hallucinating. Thomas shakes his head slowly. When I saw your eyes open, I thought I was seeing things. But I would know those eyes anywhere. No one else glares at me like that when I forget your tea sugar. Despite herself, a startled laugh bursts out of her. It sounds bright and young, and it sends shivers down her spine. Careful, Thomas. I can still fire you. You have tried for 50 years. He wipes at his eyes. I am not worried. He steps closer, his voice lowering. I do not know how this happened. I do not know if God decided it was not your time, or if the devil sent you back for unfinished business. All I know is that Lily is still in that house with those vipers. Lily. The name slams into Isabella harder than the memory of the fall. The banquet table. The forged documents. Emma's cold eyes. Jason's sneer. Lily's tears. What happened after I collapsed? She demands. Her hands ball into fists again. Did they sign anything? Did they touch her shares? Thomas hesitates. That snake of a woman tried. She claimed the stress had killed you, and that the board needed to move fast. But I stalled them. I pretended the safe where you keep the original trust documents could not be opened without your fingerprint. He lifts his chin in quiet pride. She believed me. For now. For now. Isabella repeats, her voice low and dangerous. She pushes away from the sink and walks back into the room, marveling at how steady her legs feel, how her heart supports every step instead of limiting it. She stops at the window and parts the blinds. The city outside is the same one she has ruled for decades, steel and glass stretching into the sky, traffic glowing in red and white lines along the avenues. But it looks different through young eyes, sharper, full of possibility instead of exhaustion. Lily is alone with them. She murmurs. Her reflection in the glass shows a young woman with a hard set to her jaw. The face of a girl who once swore never to let anyone control her again. The face of a woman who let age slow her down, and watched snakes slither into the house she built. Not anymore. Thomas steps beside her. We can sneak you into the estate without anyone recognizing you. He says cautiously. People will think you are a distant cousin, maybe, or a new maid. Isabella snorts. A maid? I am saving that house, not cleaning it. She stares at her reflection, and allows the spark that has been smoldering in her chest since she woke to flare into full flame. I will be Lily's cousin, she decides. A relative from my mother's side. No one remembers that branch, they all pretended it did not exist when I refused that first arranged marriage. It is poetic. Thomas watches her with something like relief. You are planning again. I stopped planning, and look what it almost cost us. Isabella answers. Her eyes harden. I am not done with this family, Thomas. If God or fate, or whatever cosmic accountant keeps the ledger decided to give me back this face and this body, then I will use it. She turns away from the window, her entire being focused. Call the car. Get me clothes that will not make me look like I escaped from a museum. Then take me home. And Lily? Thomas asks quietly. Isabella smiles, her young lips curling in a way that is both sweet and terrifying. Lily is about to get a cousin who bites. The wrought iron gates of the Rockefeller estate slide open with a mechanical whine as the black sedan glides up the drive. From the back seat, Isabella watches the house loom into view, every stone of the old mansion as familiar to her as the lines on her palm. Only this time, she is not arriving as the frail matriarch everyone expects to eventually bury. She is arriving as an 18-year-old stranger with a forged story, a forged name, and a very real vendetta. Thomas grips the steering wheel a little too tight. Last chance to turn around, Mother Isabella. You know better than to call me that now. She reminds him. He grunts. Last chance to turn around, Miss Isa. She smirks despite the tension in her chest. Isa Rockefeller is dead. That identity died on the banquet table with her 100th birthday cake. The young woman stepping out of this car is Isa Cole, a distant cousin from her mother's New England side, with a vaguely tragic backstory and an unlimited willingness to start trouble. Too late for second thoughts, she says lightly. We are already on the battlefield. Thomas pulls up in front of the grand entrance. A footman rushes down the steps, confusion briefly flickering across his face at the unfamiliar young woman stepping out of the car beside the old butler. His training kicks in quickly. Welcome, ma'am. May I take your bag? Isa hands him the small overnight case Thomas insisted she bring so the act would look convincing. Thank you, she says smoothly. My flight was long. Thomas promised me a hot cup of tea and a chance to see the famous house I have heard about my entire life. The footman glances at Thomas for confirmation. Thomas nods with a gravity that makes the lie feel like a simple fact. Miss Isa is a guest of the family, he says. See that her room is prepared. Inside, the foyer smells of polished wood and fresh flowers. Isa's heart stutters once at the sight of the familiar portraits lining the walls, generations of Rockefellers staring down in oil and gilt frames. Her own portrait hangs near the staircase, painted when she was 70, her eyes sharp, her pearls bright, her posture regal. She looks like a queen about to announce a decree. Now standing beneath it in jeans, a simple white shirt, and a leather jacket, she feels like a spy infiltrating her own kingdom. Emma's heels click sharply on the marble before Isa even sees her. Thomas, what is this? Emma's voice slices through the air as she descends the stairs, every step measured and elegant. She wears a cream silk blouse and tailored slacks, her blonde hair perfect, her makeup mournful enough to suggest fresh grief. Her gaze lands on Isa and narrows. And who are you? Isa lifts her chin and smiles with polite sweetness. I am Isa Cole. My mother was Elizabeth Cole, from Boston. She was a cousin to Isabella Rockefeller on her mother's side. The lie slides easily off her tongue. She rehearsed it in the hospital with Thomas until it felt natural. Emma frowns, eyes flicking between Isa and the portrait on the wall. Isabella never mentioned any cousins from Boston. Isabella did not mention a lot of things. Isa replies calmly. Especially after the family refused to attend her wedding because she refused to marry your friend's grandfather instead. Emma's lips part. Her eyes flash with a flicker of uncertainty. Thomas hides a cough behind his hand to mask a laugh. I had hoped to meet her, Isa continues, letting a hint of sadness color her voice. But I heard she passed away during her birthday celebration. She rests a hand over her heart and looks up at the 70-year-old portrait. She was an inspiration to my mother. She always said Isabella proved that girls in this family could be more than ornaments. Emma's brows pinch, but she cannot contradict a story rooted in a past she never bothered to learn. The older generations kept their grudges close, and their secrets closer. That is unfortunate. She manages, gesture stiff. You have arrived at a difficult time, Miss Cole. The difficult times are exactly when family should be together, Isa says sweetly. She looks around the foyer, as if seeing it for the first time. I am sorry for intruding without notice, but when I received Thomas's letter, I thought I should come and pay my respects and meet the younger generation. Emma's gaze snaps to Thomas, who gives her the most innocent look he can manage. I wrote to Miss Isa after the banquet, he says blandly. I thought she should know. Isa watches Emma try to decide whether yelling at the butler in front of an outsider will make her look crude. It will. Emma swallows the impulse. Instead, she puts on a brittle smile. Of course. We always welcome family. You must be tired from your flight. A room will be prepared for you. She gestures toward the left wing of the house. Thomas, please show Miss Cole to a guest room in the west corridor. The west corridor is under renovation. Thomas lies smoothly. Mother Isabella always said family should be close to the heart of the house. We will use the blue room. The blue room is on the second floor, right across from Lily's bedroom. Isa fights the urge to grin. Emma's fingers tighten around the railing. She cannot openly contradict the butler without raising questions. Her smile turns thinner. As you wish. She steps closer to Isa, eyes cold despite the pleasant tone. I do hope your stay will be brief. We are in the middle of reorganizing the estate after Mother Isabella's sudden passing. It is a sensitive time. Isa nods solemnly. I understand. I will try not to be in the way. I only want to meet Lily before I decide whether to leave. Emma blinks. You know Lily? Isa lets out a soft laugh. My mother talked about her often. She was very proud that Isabella's great-granddaughter was accepted into such good schools. I wanted to meet the girl who carries our stubborn blood. Emma's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly at the word stubborn. Lily is resting in her room, she says. She has been emotional since Mother Isabella's passing. I will be gentle. Isa answers, her eyes steady. Besides, I have never been very good at staying away from emotional people. Thomas leads Isa up the wide staircase. As they turn the corner, Isa hears Emma's hiss drift up behind them. Why did you not tell me about this girl? I only learned how to send letters last century. Thomas replies dryly. If I had known it would upset you so much, I would have written sooner. Isa bites back a laugh and focuses on climbing the stairs without stomping like an angry teenager. Her body wants to sprint, to leap 2 steps at a time, just to feel the thrill of muscles working without pain. But she cannot reveal too much that fast. Her joints should not be that eager if she is a normal 18-year-old who just took a red-eye flight. At the second-floor landing, she pauses outside a closed door with a small brass plate that reads Lily in delicate script. Muffled voices drift through the wood. Do not raise your voice at me. Lily's tone is trembling but stubborn. I am not your maid. Emma's sharper tones cut through. You are whatever I say you are in this house. You have food, a roof, clothes on your back, because I allow it. You think any of that is free? You are using my inheritance to pay for it. Lily fires back, tears thick in her voice. Mom and Dad left that money to me. A slap cracks through the space between words. Isa sees Thomas flinch. Her hands curl into fists. How dare you speak to me like that? Emma snarls. Ungrateful little brat. Your father was a fool for letting your grandmother spoil you. There is the sound of something shattering. Lily cries out in pain. Isa does not remember moving. 1 second she is on the landing, the next her hand is on the doorknob. She pushes the door open without knocking. The room falls silent. Lily stands near the desk, one cheek reddening, one hand bleeding from a broken teacup at her feet. Emma stands in the middle of the room, chest heaving, a thin bamboo cane in her hand. Jason lounges on the bed, arms crossed, watching it all with lazy boredom. He sits up when he sees Isa, eyes widening at the unexpected stranger. Who the hell are you? He demands. Isa steps fully inside, Thomas right behind her. I am the cousin you forgot you had, she says calmly. She walks to Lily's side, each step measured so she does not sprint over and throttle Emma on sight. Up close, Lily looks even smaller. Her eyes, the same stormy gray as Isabella's, are brimming with tears and hurt, but beneath that Isa sees something else. Stubbornness. Fire. She puts a steady hand on Lily's shoulder. Lily flinches, then freezes, her eyes searching Isa's face. Who are you? She whispers. Isa offers her the softest smile she can manage. Family. Then she turns to Emma. The softness disappears like a mask dropping. What exactly do you think you are doing? Emma lifts her chin. Teaching your cousin some respect. She replies coolly. You must be Miss Cole. You arrived at a very unfortunate time. I arrived at the perfect time. Isa answers. She reaches out and plucks the cane from Emma's hand before the older woman can react. Her fingers curl around the bamboo, and she snaps it across her knee. The crack is loud and satisfying. Emma's eyes widen. You have no right. Issa tosses the broken pieces to the floor. Lily is a Rockefeller by blood, the same as you tried to pretend to be by marriage. She says. If anyone should be teaching respect here, it is her, not you. Jason slides off the bed, scoffing. Big words from some random cousin, who shows up with the help. He stalks toward Issa, trying to loom. Issa barely reaches his chin, but he is soft from years of indulgence. She can see the slight paunch under his designer shirt, the careless slouch in his shoulders. He has the arrogance of someone who has never once been truly afraid. Listen, sweetheart. He says. You might think you can waltz in here and play hero, but you do not know how things work in this house. He reaches out as if to grab Issa's arm and shove her aside. Issa moves faster. Years of self-defense training flood back into her limbs as naturally as breathing. She catches his wrist, twists, and uses his momentum to flip him over her shoulder. Jason slams onto the carpeted floor with a grunt that knocks the air from his lungs. He stares up at her in shock. Emma gasps. Lily's mouth drops open. Thomas pinches the bridge of his nose as if he knew this would happen. Issa plants her foot lightly on Jason's chest, pinning him in place with almost no effort. Here is a lesson in how things work now. She says quietly, her eyes like steel. If you ever raise a hand against Lily again, or stand by while someone else does, I will make sure you cannot raise your hand at all. Do we understand each other? Jason wheezes. You crazy. Issa presses down just enough to make him choke on the insult. Do we understand each other? His bravado shatters under the weight of her stare. Fine. He spits. Get off me. She steps back. Jason scrambles to his feet, face red, eyes burning with humiliated rage. You are going to regret this. He snarls. He shoulders past Thomas and storms out of the room. Emma's eyes are wide with fury and a sliver of fear. You will answer to the board for attacking my son. Issa smiles coldly. The board does not scare me. She takes a step closer until they are 3 feet apart, the air between them sharp. Here is what you will do. You will stop laying hands on Lily. You will stop threatening to throw her out every time she breathes wrong. You will stop waving forged documents in front of her face. If you have a problem with the legal status of her inheritance, you bring it to the proper channels. Emma laughs, short and brittle. And what do you know about proper channels, little cousin? Issa's smile does not reach her eyes. More than you think. Emma looks from Issa to Thomas, to Lily, to the broken cane on the floor. She clearly wants to order everyone out, to reassert control. But something in Issa's stance, in the unwavering calm in her gaze, makes Emma hesitate. Fine. She says at last, voice icy. Enjoy your visit, Miss Cole. But do not forget this is my house now. Issa's eyes flick briefly toward the portrait of 70-year-old Isabella on the wall. That is the second lie you have told me in 10 minutes. She replies. I am very good at counting lies. Emma's nostrils flare. Without another word, she turns on her heel and leaves. The door slams behind her. The room goes quiet except for Lily's uneven breathing. Issa turns back to her great-granddaughter. Sit. She orders gently. She pulls out the desk chair and guides Lily into it before she can protest. Blood is dripping steadily from Lily's cut palm, staining the desk. Issa grabs a box of tissues, presses them against the wound, and tilts Lily's chin up with her free hand. Up close, she can see the bruise blooming across the girl's cheekbone, a vivid red that will deepen into purple by morning. Isabella's old heart, now beating in a young chest, clenches. Does it hurt? She asks quietly. Lily blinks, startled by the softness in her voice. A little. Issa nods. It will pass. She glances at Thomas. Get the first aid kit. He disappears without a word. Lily watches him go, then looks back at Issa, confusion battling with gratitude in her eyes. You did not have to do that. She murmurs. You do not even know me. Issa's throat tightens. I know enough. Lily studies her face, brow furrowing. You look familiar. Issa's heart stutters. For a terrifying second she wonders if Lily can see through 18 years of smooth skin, and the changed hair color to the grandmother, who always sat at the head of the table. She forces herself to breathe. People tell me I have one of those faces. She says lightly. Maybe you saw a photo of my mother. People said she looked a lot like Isabella when she was young. Lily's expression softens. Great-grandma was the only person who ever defended me in front of them. She whispers. She collapsed because of me. Issa's hand tightens around the tissues, squeezing Lily's fingers a little too hard. It was not because of you. She says fiercely. It was because of them. Because they pushed too far. Lily's eyes fill with tears again. Emma says the board will force me to give up my shares if I do not sign voluntarily. She says I cannot handle the responsibility, that I will ruin the family. She is lying. Issa says flatly. The trust your parents left you cannot be taken without very specific conditions. She is counting on your ignorance and your fear. Lily looks down at her lap. I do not understand the documents. She admits. I tried to read them, but they are full of words that make my head hurt, and the lawyers always sit on her side of the table and talk too fast. You should not have to read them alone. Issa replies. Her voice softens. Leaving you without someone in your corner was the mistake, not you asking questions. Thomas returns with the first aid kit. He sets it on the desk and politely pretends not to notice the emotion in Issa's voice. Issa cleans Lily's palm carefully, her hands steady as if she has been tending to scraped knees and bruises her whole life. In a way she has. Here is what we are going to do, she says as she tapes a bandage over the cut. For now, you will stop arguing with Emma about the inheritance. Let her think she has worn you down. Do not sign anything, but also do not throw the papers in her face. Let her relax. People make mistakes when they think they have already won. Lily sniffles. I am not good at pretending. Issa smiles faintly. Thankfully, I am. She sits back and meets Lily's gaze head on. You want to go back to school? Lily nods instantly, tears brimming again. Yes. I had a scholarship to NYU's pre-college program. She made me call and tell them I was withdrawing. They offered to keep my spot if I submitted new scores next semester, but Emma took my textbooks. Issa feels a flare of pride, irrational and fierce. My stubborn blood indeed. She murmurs. She straightens. Fine. Here is our deal. You let me handle Emma and Jason. In return, you study harder than you ever have in your life. You are going to walk back into that school so brilliant that no one will dare say you do not deserve to be there. Lily bites her lip. What if I fail? Then you try again. Issa replies. Failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. Take that from someone who has survived more market crashes than you have birthdays. Lily lets out a small, startled laugh. Who talks like that at 18? Issa almost says someone who has been alive for 100 years but stops herself in time. Someone who reads too many biographies. She says instead. She stands up. Rest for now. Tomorrow we start with math. I want to see your old exam papers. Lily stares at her as if she is some strange miracle she is afraid to touch. Why are you helping me? She whispers. You do not owe me anything. Issa's chest aches with 100 unsaid things. Because I held you when you were a baby. Because I watched you grow up from my armchair while my legs forgot how to run. Because I failed to protect you once, and the universe has been kind enough to give me one more chance. She cannot say any of that, so she chooses the simplest truth that will fit in her new role. Because family should not be afraid in their own home. She says softly. Because someone should have stood between you and them a long time ago. She turns toward the door before the emotion can choke her. Thomas opens it for her. As they step into the hallway, Lily's voice follows them. Issa. Issa turns back. Thank you. Lily says. Her eyes are still wet, but there is a new glint in them, a tiny spark of something that looks suspiciously like hope. Issa nods once. Get some sleep, Lily. Tomorrow, we begin your revenge. The next 2 weeks turn into a quiet war. By day, Issa drills Lily in the blue room, turning old exam papers and online mock tests into weapons. They solve calculus problems until numbers blur, walk through balance sheets line by line, practice explaining case studies out loud until Lily can talk about cash flow and risk without tripping over the terms. By night, Issa and Thomas move through the house like shadows, listening at half-closed doors, photographing contracts on a burner phone, collecting every careless sentence Emma and Jason drop when they think no one important is listening. On a gray Monday morning, Lily walks back into school to sit for her makeup exams. She wears a simple sweater, her bruise faded to a faint shadow, her hands still shaking a little as she grips her backpack straps. You do not have to be perfect, Issa tells her at the curb. You just have to be better than the girl they tried to turn you into. 3 hours later, Lily climbs into the car with ink on her fingers and exhaustion in her eyes. I did not blank out, she says before Issa can ask. Every time I panicked, I heard you yelling at me to read the question again. Issa laughs, the tension in her shoulders finally easing. Then whatever the score is, I am already proud. The score sheet arrives 3 days later. Lily does not just scrape by, she crushes every subject. When NYU emails to invite her to reapply to their early program, Issa prints the message, tapes it above the desk, and circles the words with a red marker. Frame that someday. She says. Whenever someone calls you stupid, ask them where their invitation is. Lily laughs, a sound that is still soft, but no longer small. Emma has no time to celebrate or protest. Her attention is fixed on the deal she thinks will cement her power, the quiet sale of the family's historic winery. While she spends hours on the phone with bankers and lawyers, Issa and Thomas lock themselves in the old study, behind a loose brick where Issa remembers hiding something. For emergencies. They find the original deed to the vineyard, the paper yellowed, the ink still sharp. Section 8 is underlined in Isabella's crisp handwriting. The winery cannot be sold outside the bloodline, without unanimous consent of the founder's heirs. Issa touches her own notes in the margin, and lets out a breath that sounds almost like a laugh. Look at that, she says. Past me left present me a loaded gun. 3 days later, the top-floor conference room of the Rockefeller Tower hums with low voices. Through the glass walls, Manhattan stretches out in steel and light. Emma stands at the head of the table, slides glowing behind her, full of rising graphs and polished bullet points. Jason sits halfway down the table, trying to look important. Lily sits near the end, hands folded tight in her lap. Issa sits beside her in a plain black blazer, a notebook open, a pen tapping softly. Most of the men around the table assume the young woman is some junior assistant. They change their minds quickly. Emma finishes her speech to polite applause. Before she can call for a vote, Issa pushes back her chair. I have questions, she says. Her voice is young, but it carries cleanly. She walks to the head of the table and lays a photocopy of the deed in front of the nearest uncle. You forgot to mention Section 8, she says. The part where the winery cannot be sold to outsiders unless every heir agrees. She nods toward Lily. One of those heirs has no idea this sale is happening. She definitely has not agreed. A murmur moves around the room. Eyes swing toward Lily, then to Emma. Emma's smile turns thin. Even if Lily technically has a vote, she is a child. She says. She does not understand this arena. We cannot let a teenager block a strategic move, because she is sentimental about a vineyard. Issa smiles, all teeth. You are right about one thing, she says. This arena is brutal, which is why we do not let people hide the fine print from kids just because it makes stealing easier. She reaches into her pocket and takes out a small velvet box. Inside lies the heavy gold signet ring that once never left Isabella Rockefeller's hand. Issa slides it onto her own finger. The crest catches the light. Several older board members go pale. That ring was buried with Mother Isabella. One whispers. No, Issa says quietly. I took it off before the banquet. I did not see the point of rotting in the ground with something the family might still need. She rests her hand on the table, the ring winking calmly under the lights. You want to know who I am and why I care this much? Fine. She looks each of them in the eye. I remember when frost wiped out half the vines in 72, and your fathers wanted to sell. I remember standing on that terrace and telling them we would survive if we held our nerve. I remember locking this deed behind that brick with my own hands. Her mouth curves. I remember because I did it. Emma laughs, the sound too high. You are not seriously claiming to be Isabella. She scoffs. You are a girl with access to old files and a good act. Issa lifts a brow. Ask Thomas where I hid the backup key to the main safe. She says. Ask him what brand of tea I switched to when my doctor banned caffeine in 1998. She looks down the table at Lily. Ask Lily which bracelet she stole from her mother's casket, and which stuffed bear she hid it in so no one would take it away. The room goes very still. Thomas clears his throat. I never told anyone about the key, he says quietly. Or the tea. Lily's fingers tighten on the edge of her chair. How do you know about the bracelet? She whispers. Issa's chest aches, but she smiles. Because you showed it to me the night before your first day of school, she says. You said you were afraid you would forget her if you left the house without something of hers. Uncle Paul studies Issa's face for a long moment, as if he can see the 70-year-old portrait ghosted over the teenage features. You sound like her, he says slowly. You fight like her. You stare like her when you smell a bad deal. He looks around the table. I do not know what the universe has done, but I know my sister when she is arguing with me. He turns back to Issa. What do you want us to do? Issa lets out a slow breath. I want you to remember what the Rockefeller name is supposed to mean, she says. We do not sell our history for quick money. We do not terrorize children into signing away what is theirs. We do not hand our vineyard to strangers, because we are too lazy to find better solutions. She nods to Lily again. She is the future of this family. Not Mr. Beckham's son. Not a stepson who cannot read a balance sheet without help. The vote does not take long. Hands rise around the table, some hesitant, most firm. Emma's proposal is rejected. A motion to investigate recent transfers and side accounts passes just as quickly. Emma tries to protest, voice growing shrill, but security is already waiting by the door with polite, implacable faces. Jason goes white when he realizes his name is on the list of accounts to be reviewed. By the time Issa and Lily step into the elevator, Emma's access badge has been deactivated. No one says it out loud, but everyone knows who is in charge now. That night, the house feels lighter. Staff walk the halls without the tight, careful expressions they wore under Emma's rule. The portrait of old Isabella at the top of the stairs seems less like a ghost and more like a witness. On the back lawn, under a sky washed in city glow, Lily sits on the grass with NYU's new email open on her phone. Issa drops down beside her with 2 mugs of hot chocolate. For the record, Lily says, "I's still on the screen. If you really are my great-grandmother, this is the weirdest magic I have ever heard of." Issa snorts. "As if I would come back as a ghost rattling chains in the attic." She says, "I much prefer annoying people to their faces." Lily finally looks at her. "Do you really remember everything?" she asks. "Or is this some long con you are running for fun?" Issa thinks of 1,000 small moments, teaching Lily to tie her shoelaces, sneaking her cookies before dinner, sitting through school plays that went on far too long. She thinks of promises she made to herself as a young woman, that no girl in her bloodline would ever be traded for a contract again. "I remember enough," she says quietly. "I remember you asking me if love meant leaving when things got hard. I remember telling you that love that demands silence is not love you need." Lily's eyes shine. "I asked you that when Dad got sick," she whispers. "You told me that in the hospital cafeteria." "Exactly," Issa says. "Do you believe me now?" Lily swallows and nods. "Yeah," she says. "Great-grandma." The word lands in Issa's chest like a warm weight. She bumps Lily's shoulder. "Good. Because I am not done bossing you around." Lily laughs through a sniffle. "So what now?" she asks. "Now you go to college," Issa says. "You learn everything you can, and you come back ready to argue with me in every meeting." She looks back at the big house, its windows glowing softly. "I will spend however long I get cleaning up the last of Emma's mess, teaching this board that founder emeritus does not mean retired, and maybe finally taking a vacation that is not secretly a merger trip." She lifts her hand, the ring catching the faint light. "This name is not a cage," she says. "It is a shield. I forgot that for a while. We are not forgetting again." They sit there until the air turns cool, and the windows of the house go dark one by one. Inside, the portraits of stern men and sharp-eyed women look down on a home that almost slipped into the wrong hands and did not. Outside, a girl who once thought she was a disposable pawn leans against a woman who has been fighting for a century, and somehow got one more round. The world is still ruthless. The city is still hungry. But for the first time, Lily feels that the empire under her feet might actually be hers someday, not because someone married her off to keep it alive, but because she earned the right to stand at the head of the table. 100-year-old ancestor in an 18-year-old body. A 17-year-old heir with perfect scores and a stubborn heart. One name on a ring that still matters. It is not the future Emma planned, or the one the board expected. It is better.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.